I have a really easy job right now, at least for the first part. I'm going to introduce to you a gentleman that most everybody knows, and now I sure do. We would like to welcome up here Mr. Peter Osborne. Peter. Well, thank you, and welcome today to all of our honored guests, our elected officials, their families, friends, and supporters of our fair city. I want to welcome you to our city's biennial swearing-in ceremony here at the old Fort Jervis Middle School, and if you are of a certain age, you'll remember it to be the old high school. It's an exciting day for many of us here. It's a very historic day for our city as well. Janice and I used to come to these festivities, and there were always two things that we thought about as we sat in the audience. And the first was that democracy had once again prevailed, as it often has in our community and in our nation. There were no cannons rolling down the street, no gunfire, no mass killings, just this quiet and peaceful transfer of power. You may think that I'm overstating this, but just look at the news and see how often the transfers of power do not happen so easily around the world. The second thing that we enjoyed so much was the pride that spouses, children, parents, family members, friends, and supporters had in their loved ones who were now incoming public officials. There were babies squirming, young people a little uncomfortable in the limelight. There was perhaps some parents who were beaming, perhaps wondering how that had all come to be, supporters who had worked for their election. And for some, it's old hat. This is the second, the third, or the fourth time at it. For others, it's the first time, and they're a little nervous. This swearing-in is often a historic day, as are so many others. As a historian, I love connections with events, people, trends, and today is a day of connections. When Kelly asked me to welcome you, he said it was a momentous day for him, and it is indeed. It is, I believe, the first time in our city's history that a father and son have served in our community as a mayor. Kelly is part of a long tradition of the area's founding families who have continued to serve the community since they arrived here in the late 1600s and 1700s. There has been a Swartout, a Gamora, a Hornbeck, a Nearpass, a Decker, and now another Decker who will have served as mayor. Their roots go back many generations. In Kelly's case, one of the oldest buildings in our fair city, if not the oldest, Fort Decker, is the building that was built by Martinus Decker. And it is the blood of that Revolutionary War hero who built that house so many years ago that runs through Kelly's veins today. Then there have been others who have come to our community a long time after that and have served our community just as nobly. Their names are Eccleston, Gray, Warden, Roberts, Lapriori, and Carr. They were sometimes the first generation to have gone to college, their parents the backbones of our community. In other cases, they were businessmen, professionals, or public servants before they came into office. There is another equally important theme to today's program. While the Common Council has been changing over the years as newer and younger councilmen have served, there are still many of the old guard, and I would say that including myself as well, so that nobody thinks I'm saying that badly, that are still active in the affairs of our community. However, this is the first time we have elected a mayor from this new generation that is now coming into leadership. When Megan, Janice's daughter, wrote me about the election results last fall, she was so proud of Kelly's election. She said to me that one of us is now in charge. And she got that right. One of ours, as Willa Cather so famously named her book, is now going to be our mayor. President John Kennedy said in his inaugural address in 1961, to a different generation and a different time, but which seems so appropriate now, that we've just concluded the commemoration of his visit to Gray Towers, he said then, "Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans." And so, in our community today, this torch of public service has been passed to the next generation of our community's leaders. In thinking about this, I was taken back to Ross Decker's swearing in not too many years ago here, and I would be remiss in not mentioning him today. I have long thought that Ross was one of the most decent and honorable men I ever met. We were great friends. I respect him a great deal. He was such a talented man. I was always humbled when I was with him. Hospital administrator, choir member at the Presbyterian Church, accomplished pianist, organist, pilot, Rotarian, president of our Historical Society and my boss, and the kind of guy who helped donate medical supplies to those who needed them in Vietnam during the war. He was a veteran, a patriot, a firefighter, a husband, a father, and of course, one of our mayors. I'm sure that he is looking down today on these proceedings with great pride and joy. I was also thinking about how Janice used to love to tell the story of having changed Kelly's diapers when he was a baby, and she was babysitting for Carol. For his part, Kelly, when I talked to him about this, well remembered the McCann boys, Tom and Mike, fighting at their house. Janice would be proud of where this journey has led, starting at that diaper changing table a long time ago, and then to this auspicious occasion. And then finally, for all of our incoming council people, fire department officials, and others, we appreciate your service and dedication to our community. It takes guts to run for an office. It takes confidence to put yourself up to the scrutiny of the media and critics and your fellow citizens. The last thing that Janice and I often thought about as we watched these festivities is that we were honored to be here with the people who had been elected or chosen to serve. We both understood what sacrifice they would have to commit to because we both have been and had been in public life ourselves. We came back to that famous quote of President Theodore Roosevelt, and which now I will quote a few sentences from. It was entitled Citizenship in a Republic and was delivered in Paris, France in 1910, just a little more after a year when he had left the presidency. And he said, thundering from this podium as one who had served in public life, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, and comes short again and again, because there is not effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the great deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end triumphs of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. We need leaders of inspired idealism, leaders to whom are granted great visions, who dream greatly and strive to make their dreams come true, who can kindle the people with fire from their own burning souls. And so, with those remarks, we wish our newly elected officials the best of luck and Godspeed. We know that they will build on the work of those who have gone before them and hopefully make our community a better one. But before we go on to those challenges, which will surely come, let us bask in this day of family, friends, and supporters. Let the people say amen. Thank you. And I guess I turn back over to you. Thank you, Peter. Keeping it short. We promised he would.
Sometimes I've been around Jervis for so long I forget that there are people who don't know who I am. Recently I was at the Erie Hotel and a woman walked up to me and said, "Didn't you used to be Rich Wilson?" No lie, she did. And then the other day I placed on Facebook that I was going to be here. I was honored that Kelly asked me, and a couple of people wrote back and said, "I didn't know you were still alive." So I guess as you get older, these things happen. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Rich Wilson and I am still alive. I want to thank Kelly for inviting me here today. It's an honor. He mentioned to me in his email that if I remembered that far back, I was here for his father's inauguration 12 years ago. So when he said that, I couldn't say no this time. He knew what he was doing. I'd like to recognize a few people before we do the invocation. Some of the people that are in the audience today, former mayors, Mayor Eccleston. Mayor Roberts. And Mayor Lapriori. Forgive me if I mess this up because the notes were handed to me by Kelly on this little card that he scribbled leaning on the bathroom wall, I think. Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Tom Bon Jovi. Deer Park Judge John Wolf. Superintendent of School Instruction Cindy Benedict. I've got to get this right. Amish, right? Okay. Bobby Correri and Christy Brown. And one other. From Delaware Valley, the superintendent over there, Mr. John Bell. John, you graduated, went to school with Kelly, class of '85, right? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's good that you're here to support it now. Good. I would like to introduce you right now for the invocation. Please welcome from St. Mary's Catholic Church, Father George Huffman. Father.
Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, you have revealed your glory to all nations. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, through you authority is rightly administered, laws are enacted, and judgment is decreed. Assist with your spirit of counsel and fortitude our mayor and our common council, that their administration may be conducted in righteousness, so that they may execute laws with justice and mercy. Guide and protect the officers of our fire department, that they may be both courageous and wise in leading the fight against the fiery foe. We likewise commend to your unbounded mercy all citizens of our city, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your holy law. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Father. At this time, I would like to introduce a young lady who's going to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please welcome Miss Emma Siegel. You all stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing. I'd like to welcome the Port Jervis School District as they sing Stars Spangled Banner. administer the oath of office, we'd like to invite Honorable Matthew Witheroo to join us.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. As City Court Judge of the City of Port Jervis, it is my distinct privilege to administer the constitutional oath of office to Mayor Decker, the elected members of the Common Council, and the officers of the Fire Department. We gather here today as friends, as family members, and as citizens to witness, as Peter indicated, a hallmark of democracy, the peaceful transfer of power. And on today, this first day of our new year, let the new officers, the new mayor, and the new members of the Common Council resolve to govern with clear eyes, with a full heart, for the betterment of the City of Port Jervis. At this point in time, I'd like to call upon the officers of the Fire Department, Fire Chief Jeffrey S. Rhodes, First Assistant Chief Frank W. Fuller III, Secretary Richard F. Drew, Treasurer David Place, Deputy Chief Joseph Cole, Deputy Chief James W. Roner, and Department Chaplain Father George Hayden. If you would all please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the State of New York, in the City of Port Jervis, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of the City of Port Jervis, which I am about to enter, to the best of my ability, so help me God. At this point in time, if I could call upon David Barbosa to please rise. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, David W. Barbosa,
I, David W. Barbosa,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the State of New York
and the State of New York
and the City of Port Jervis,
and the City of Port Jervis,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of the office of Councilman at Large
the duties of the office of Councilman at Large
of the City of Port Jervis,
of the City of Port Jervis,
to which I am about to enter,
to which I am about to enter,
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Looking at the program before we continue with the rest of the council members, I'm going to turn it back over to Rich Wilson for a song.
You skipped me. How soon they forget. Or two? I hypnotized them, yeah, that's good. Thank you, I appreciate. remembering. If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again, just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky star to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died, who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you, Rich. I certainly would have been remiss if I had skipped that portion of the ceremony. Sitting in the audience listening to the words of the song, it really is a beautiful song. Rich did a fantastic job. And I'd just like to take a moment and recognize our veterans who are here today. Kelly, if any of the members just stand up and At this point in time, we'll continue with the oaths of office, and I would call to the stage Councilman for the 1st Ward, Carl Binder. And Councilman for the 1st Ward, Kevin Cunningham. Gentlemen, if you'll raise your right hands and repeat after me. I
Carl,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the State of New York,
the laws of the State of New York,
and the City of Port Jervis,
and the City of Port Jervis,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of the office of 1st Ward Councilman
the duties of the office of First Ward Councilman
of the City of Port Jervis,
of the City of Port Jervis,
to which I am about to enter,
to which I am about to enter
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Congratulations. At this time, we'll continue with our second ward councilman, Robert Ritchie. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert Ritchie, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the state of New York, in the city of Port Jervis, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Second Ward Councilman of the city of Port Jervis, to which I am about to enter, to the best of my ability. So help me God. I'll call upon the Third Ward Councilman, Robert Woligrowski. It's a tough step. Gentlemen, if you'll raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the state of New York, in the city of Port Jervis, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Third Ward Councilman of the city of Port Jervis, to which I am about to enter, to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations. At this point, I'll call upon our councilpersons from the Fourth Ward, Mr. Frank Bell. Fantastic. Gentlemen. If you would raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the laws of the state of New York, in the city of Port Jervis, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Fourth Ward Councilman of the city of Port Jervis, to which I am about to enter, to the best of my ability. So help me God. At this point in time, I'll turn it back over to Rich Wilson for the upcoming brief history of Port Jervis.
Thank you. Stan, I noticed your fingers were crossed. I do sound like Richard. It's going to be a running joke here today. I can see that. You got some power, man. That's all I got to say. One of the things you're about to see before you, Kelly wanted to share with you today, it's a video that was produced back in 2007 by students from the Port Jervis School District. And that was, like I said, 2007. The unique thing is those students now are seniors in the school district. And this is a brief history of Port Jervis.
My classmates and I are going to show you a presentation of what these people in Port Jervis history did to change the world. We're starting with Mia because she is going to tell us how John B. Jervis started off.
That's right, Nick. What a better way to start off than with someone who believed in himself. John B. Jervis was born and raised in upstate New York. He became an axeman and laborer on the Erie Canal but studied engineering. He became the chief engineer of the D&H Canal that's behind me and that ran from Kingston, New York to Homestead, Pennsylvania through Port Jervis. Yes, that's how Port Jervis got part of its name. The residents were grateful that the canal brought businesses to the village, and in 1907, when the village became a city, they named it after Mr. Jervis. Mr. Jervis was grateful for the namesake. In return, helped bring another economic boom to Port Jervis by helping to design the route of the Erie Railroad through the city. Now here in 2007, we celebrate Port Jervis's centennial with a look at its most famous residents and its visitors.
Probably one of our most famous visitors is Stephen Crane. Crane came here with his family in the late 1800s when his father, a Methodist minister, was moved here by the church. Crane started his education in the Port Jervis School District with his sister, Agnes, was a teacher at the Mountain House School. Crane's father died suddenly and Crane moved away to New Jersey a year later. His brother William, a lawyer, became the judge here in Port Jervis. Stephen would return to visit frequently. Stephen Crane loved to write, and he would come here to Orange Square Park, where he would interview Civil War veterans, also known as the Orange Blossoms, about the war. Even though he never personally experienced war, Stephen, through his interviews, wrote what is known as America's most classic novel, The Red Bag of Courage.
When we see a movie, we think about Hollywood, because that is where movies are made. That wasn't always the case. Back in the 1900s, New York was the home to movies and movie stars. It was D.W. Griffith who brought movie making here to where we live from 1909 to 1911. Griffith filmed many of his early movies in Port Jervis area, including here in Oakland Valley, close to my house, which is over there. Griffith went on to Hollywood and produced and directed The Birth of a Nation, the first full-length motion picture ever. He showed you could be anything you want to be.
Everybody knows the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz. Well, that song was written by Yip Hartford. It was here in Port Jervis that during the Depression years of 1930s that Mr. Hartford visited Port Jervis and wrote another one of his famous songs, Brother Can You Spare a Dime. The new ballad, the place where Mr. Hartford gathered his ideas for the song, stood here and burned down a few years ago. But old things die and new things are born, and from the ashes a new building will stand here soon. It will be built by a Port Jervis High School graduate, John Little. That's right, my teacher's son. This will be Mr. Little's first commercial project after building many homes in the area. Both Mr. Little and Mr. Harvard can show us that dreams can come true. Ogden Nash was a frequent visitor to Port Jervis. Nash was an American poet, best known for writing pithy and funny light verses. It was on this porch that Nash sat while he was watching a wedding party across the street that he came up with the Limerick one. And Natalie's bride of Port Jervis was quite understandable nervous, since her apple-cheeked groom with 3 wives in the tomb kept insuring her during the service. The man had 3 wives that already died, and now his next wife was nervous. He kept telling her it was all right. Would you be nervous? Anyway, in 2002, a United States postage stamp was made honoring Mr. Nash, and in the background was the Port Jervis poem. Born here on Ball Street on November 8, 1896, was Sailor Raymond. Bucky Harris. Who was he, you said? Well, listen here and I'll tell you. Bucky Harris was born to a very poor family. His father went to work in the coal mines of Scranton, Pennsylvania, while Bucky and his mom lived here in Port Jervis
until Bucky was 8 years old. Bucky loved baseball, and after moving to Scranton with his dad, he played for the Chattanooga Lookouts. He was discovered by baseball promoter Joe Engel. Bucky played for the Washington Senators and the Detroit Tigers as a second baseman, and then went on to manage the Senators, Tigers, Red Sox, Phillies, and in 1947, he was the manager of the world champion New York Yankees. Bucky Harris, a Port Jervis native, was included into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1975, coming from a poor beginnings here in Port Jervis.
Space, a final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
If I said James Blish, most of you would say, who? But if I said Star Trek, most of you would know what I was talking about. James Blish lived in Milford, but spent much of his time with Judith Merle, who lived here on Hudson Street, Port Jervis. Blish was well known for his 11 short story collections that he wrote based upon the classic TV series Star Trek. He also wrote the original novel Spock in the Sky. His friend Judith Merrill is credited with being one of the first science fiction writers in the world, and she was also an editor. Merrill edited Blish's anthology Beyond Human Ken. Blish and Merrill are world-renowned writers who produce most of their work here.
When you smile at me, well, I know our love will always be. When you kiss me right, I don't want to ever say goodnight.
We're in the Port Jervis Middle School auditorium, where the Cannon twins got their start. Back in 1958, they had a hit song called When.
When I say be mine.
The Cannon twins were born and grew up in Port Jervis. Their hit song made them worldwide celebrities. Like the Beatles are to America, the Cannon twins are to England. When was on the British charts at number 1 over 18 weeks. The Cannon twins can be found in the Guinness Book of British Hits. The Cannon twins showed that you can be anything you want to be.
When you smile at me, well, I know our love will always be. When you kiss me right, I don't want to ever say goodnight. I need you, I want you, baby, I love you. Yes, I do, and I hope you hear me when I say be mine. If you will, I know all will be fine. When will you be mine? When will you be mine?
Here in this house lives one woman who has truly made a difference in not only Port Jervis but also in the world. Miriam Roner has been the den mother of Pac 173's Den 1 for over 48 years. Mrs. Roner, in her capacity as the den mother, has shaped and molded many young boys over the years to be true leaders. In 2002, she was honored by the Guinness Book of 1960 that a new minister came to this church, the First Presbyterian Church of Port Jervis, or otherwise known as FPCPJ, and his name was Richard K. Avery. Shortly after, his colleague Donald S. Marsh came to the church as its Director of Arts and Education. For over 40 years, the duo wrote Christian music together and became known throughout the world by leading creative worship and music. Right here in this building, the two started Proclamation Productions, in which over 150 of their songs have been heard. We started Presby Players, an acting troupe in which Don was an actor and choreographer formerly from New York City, began his directing of over 75 plays and musicals. The two can be credited for changing thousands of people's lives and for developing their young parishioners into leaders, musicians, and actors. What Avery and Marsh have done for Port Jervis and its residents has affected the world for the better.
It was here in Port Jervis that two brothers started a lifetime of playing together. Both of them had a love of one sport, wrestling. After graduating from Port Jervis High School in 1978, the Bannock brothers, Ed and Lou, went out to college and pursued their wrestling careers. In 1984, the Bannock brothers went on to compete in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, California, where both won gold medal. With much fanfare, the brothers were honored in their hometown with a parade. The high school gym was renamed Bannock Arena, and right here in downtown Port Jervis, its citizens can be reminded every day of the Bannock success to be what they wanted to be.
We've talked about writers and engineers, musicians, and sports stars, but do we have any politicians? I am standing here on the steps of City Hall. As people enter City Hall, they can read the preamble to the United States Constitution on a piece of granite that lays in front of the building. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterities. What does this all mean? One word, posterity can explain it. It is our working together to succeed for future generations. Over the last 100 years, the city has had hundreds of average people step up to the plate to serve as our councilmen, people, and mayor. In a small way, their working together helped all these people you are learning about today succeed. Today, we still have 5 of the 25 mayors that have served the city who are all graduates of the Port Jervis School District, and among them is Arthur Gray. Gray was the mayor during the 1970s and 1980s. His passion to have our future generations succeed took him further in the political hierarchy when he became a New York State Senator in 1988. Senator Gray is now retired and still lives in Port Jervis, the place he calls home.
It was in the 1990s when Omari started my grade in this gym. He tried out for the Port Jervis modified basketball team but was cut. His father died and he moved back to the state of Florida with his mother. He didn't give up his dream of playing basketball. He practiced and worked hard. Last year he became the 2006 Phoenix Suns All-Star. Omari shows that by working hard he can be anything you want to be.
Lastly, it was right here on Front Street in Port Jervis that during the early 1990s, a young lady would go inside the school to learn how to dance. She took music lessons here and shot with her mother here. Today you know her as famous singer-songwriter Vanessa Carlton. Her hit song, 1,000 Miles, written in 2002, has gone platinum. From John B. Jervis to Vanessa Carlton, our 100 years have helped produce or develop many great people. What's the moral? You can be anything you want to be. Everyone is given obstacles and peer pressure will be the biggest one. But only you can decide what you want to do with your life.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and homebound. Staring back, yeah, just making a way, making a way.
Pretty impressive, wouldn't it? Well, Kelly, by presenting that, you did something for me as well. I now can add to my resume that I was an opening act for the Kaling twins. You had to have it. We miss them. At this time, I think it's my job to introduce you. Please welcome Mayor of the City of Port Jervis, Kelly B. Decker.
Hand on the Bible, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kelly Decker, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the state of New York,
the laws of the state of New York,
and the city of Port Jervis,
and the city of Port Jervis,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of the office of mayor
the duties of office of mayor
of the city of Port Jervis,
of the city of Port Jervis,
to which I am about to enter,
which I am about to enter,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God. Okay, so my family last night says to me, how long is this thing? Listen, we're less than an hour, so I'm doing really good. But they said, how long is your speech? I said, well, I started off with 47 pages. And I have it down to 16. Just relax, it's only 2.5. We're going to take Port Jervis to different places. We're going to move Port Jervis forward. We're going to create paths that have not been made before. Some people are going to be hesitant. We need to move the city forward. And 7 years have gone by since the city of Port Jervis celebrated its centennial. And the question was, what will our next 100 years bring? Many owe so much to those that came before us. Here in the Port Jervis Middle School, a school in which many of you attended, in a place which many people have fond memories, and of course some people have not so fond memories. I often ask myself, when I'm dead and when I'm gone, what will I leave behind? What will I have given others? What will I have given to the city of Port Jervis, the place I call home, to carry on? I said we owed so much to those that came before us, and we do. I could rattle off names, sometimes at lightning speed, of those who offered me help, guidance, and instruction during my wonder years. It is now my generation's responsibility to pay back, to help others, and to make sure our small little city on the banks of the Delaware survives. How can that be done? It can be done by using drive, determination, ownership, and pride. Many people here can easily remember their Port Jervis School District teachers that were helpful along their school journey. Our school district has an incredible track record of putting amazing young people into the forefront of worldwide research, engineering, politics, administration, education, and producing top military leaders. Yet we allow others to point out and dwell on absenteeism and graduation rates, of course, which go hand in hand, because they had a lack of drive, determination, ownership, and pride. Many people here can recall Port Jervis clubs, churches, and community mentors that paved the path for young boys and girls to be community leaders, dancers, actors, athletes and ministers. Mrs. Roner, Dick Avery and Don Marsh, for me. These children became successful because they were involved in school and involved in our community. Some may point towards those that failed because they grew up in poor family situations. I disagree. It was because they weren't involved in their school or their community is why they failed. I know several people that grew up in very poor family situations, and they became successful adults because they were involved with clubs and organizations in Port Jervis. Ownership and pride is what drives a person, and those that fail do not have ownership or pride. There are numerous school and community clubs, sports, and recreational events that everyone of any age can get involved in. Right now is the time for us, the city, to reach out. Reach out and work with our citizens, young and old, connecting them to those clubs and organizations. We're not going to reach out once, not twice, but we need to be persistent in finding out what interests people and connect them in a mentoring process. In turn, the city can call on those clubs and organizations to give up their time and create, clean up, or work on projects that will positively affect the city. Look around. Port Jervis has the ability to be the home of so much more than what exists. If you have ever traveled the world, far or near, you will realize that Port Jervis has the potential to offer more than most places. Port Jervis offers a core community of coaches and mentors that give up their time to individuals. It is also a community that gives an outpouring of support and love when one of their own is in need. Port Jervis offers 2 recreational rivers nestled in a valley that can be used for canoeing, kayaking, rafting, swimming, and fishing. Port Jervis offers parks that can offer picnicking, recreational events, hiking, biking, camping, quad riding, and snowmobiling. Port Jervis offers vast amounts of land that can be used for capturing alternative energy. Port Jervis offers an interstate highway, train, and bus service that afford visitors and residents easy access in and out of the city. Does Port Jervis have its downfalls, its mistakes, its problems? The answer would be yes. But anything can be fixed with the right drive, determination, ownership, and pride. The days of absentee housing landlords and banks holding our residential stock hostage in Port Jervis needs to disappear. We need to give the next generation the desire to want to buy a house here, to raise their family here, and be involved in the community they call home. It should not be a place where investors feel they can buy cheap and charge high rates to residents while living somewhere else and not caring for our city. We need to examine our infrastructure to continue the efforts of providing safe, clean water, gas, and electric while removing waste. We need to welcome and encourage growth of businesses in the city. We need to support each other in these endeavors. How can we do this? Community service. It is the key to giving ownership to the children and adults of Port Jervis. Recreation is the key to bringing people to visit our community and allowing businesses to open and flourish. Affordable housing is the key to providing ownership to those that choose to stay, work, and play in Port Jervis. This puts Port Jervis first with pride. I know that the meaning of my life is that I was born as a child, one child, to try to carry on. I have examined my life and where I've been. I've experienced many tragic events, but I have also experienced many wonderful gifts. I have countless people to thank for that. I was not going to say names. Of course, I said a couple already, but I'm going to say these. It starts with my mom and my dad. My sister Patty, who's watching on our first wireless internet setup in Florida. To my brothers Kenny and Kurt. I remember being so proud of coming here in 7th grade and sitting here and knowing a band's going to play. And the curtains open and it's my brother's band from his college in Boston playing My Old School. The song goes, I'm never coming back to my old school. Guess where I am? Guess where he is? Of course, my wife, Jill, and my boys, Mackenzie, James, Connor, and Jack. I could continue with the deluge of thanks to my teachers, and I could rattle them all off. My friends that I grew up with, and then my friends as I got older. My classmates, my coaches, my church, my neighbors, and the leaders and members of the organizations that I have been involved in. I understand drive, determination, ownership, and pride because of them. I know that I've painted for you a fascination, but let's call it a summons to adventure. Let the voice inside each of you say that you can do anything you set your heart on. I want you to, every time you see a rainbow, I want you to make a connection. I want that rainbow to be a visionary goal for you that you set to make your home, Port Jervis, a better place to live. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be in Port Jervis. May God bless the United States of America, the state of New York, and the city of Port Jervis. just ask, and they will do. And I want to thank Emish for helping me out. Imagine kids giving up their vacation, right in the middle of their vacation. HB, ASK, middle school, high school, and the directors of those schools volunteering their time to do this. Thank you. My buddy Rich Wilson, saying yes for coming here to MC for us here in Pittsburgh. My father respected a lot of people, and one person that he had the utmost respect for. I am so honored and have such gratitude that he's here, Mr. Peter Osborne. So, ladies and gentlemen, I kept it under an hour and 10 minutes. But we have a long road ahead of us. I want you to please keep your eyes open. Keep that visionary goal that we can make Port Jervis anything we want to be. When you go out today, say to yourself every day when you wake up in the morning, make it a routine like exercise, although I try that sometimes and I don't do it. Make it a routine that I want to make Port Jervis a better place, and we're going to be able to do it. We are going to have a reception at the VFW, which is, if you go out Pennsylvania Avenue here, down the hill to the left, and it's at 4751 Owen Street. There'll be light refreshments and cake, and just so you know, it's Anna Pollock cake, so it's definitely want to go. I thank everybody for participating, and I especially thank my family for missing me for the next 2 years, even though they missed me a little bit 2 years ago, for the last 2 years. But my boys have sacrificed, my wife has sacrificed, and my family has sacrificed. And so have all the council people, and so they will. But it's for an important cause, because it's what we want to do for our city. Thank you, and God bless.